In the 20th century, leverage meant physical machines. You got an assembly line and you could produce 100 times more product with 10 times the people. In the 21st century, leverage means digital systems. You build a piece of software and it works for 1 million people simultaneously. No additional cost, no additional labor. This is not a small shift. This is the most fundamental change in what creates competitive advantage. The founders who understand digital leverage are building empires. The founders who don't understand it are building unsustainable businesses. Digital leverage is the new superpower, and the people who master it will dominate the next decade. Today's guest has spent her entire career building companies that understand digital leverage deeply. She's built $3 billion companies by mastering this one principle. Leverage your intelligence through software, not just your time. Freya, welcome to Scale Up Stories.
Thank you. Excited to dive in. Thank you for having me. And I want to start with a definition that most founders get wrong.
What's the wrong definition?
Most founders think leverage means doing more with less effort. Like, I built software so now I don't have to work as hard. That's not leverage, that's just laziness. Real leverage is amplifying your impact without proportionally increasing your input.
What's the difference?
Effort and impact are separate things. You can reduce effort without increasing impact. That's not leverage, that's just a waste. Real leverage is when you work the same amount but produce 10x the impact. Or you work less and produce the same impact.
Give me an example of real leverage.
I built a piece of software that helped financial advisors. The software allowed one advisor to serve 10 customers instead of 5. The advisor didn't work less. They worked more, but their impact quadrupled. That's digital leverage. The software amplified what they could do.
So, you're building tools for other people?
In that case, yes. But you can also use digital leverage for your own work. I write one piece of content, a blog post or a framework, and it educates 10,000 people. That's leverage. Without digital distribution, I could only educate people I could reach in person, maybe 100 people a year. With digital distribution, I can reach millions.
Is the content different?
No, the content is identical, but the distribution mechanism multiplies the impact by 1,000x.
That sounds like distribution, not leverage.
Distribution is a form of leverage. Leverage is any system that amplifies impact without proportionally increasing effort. So, software, distribution, automation, outsourcing, delegation, these are all forms of leverage.
What's the most powerful form of digital leverage?
Software, because software is infinitely scalable. You write code once, it runs for 1 million users. The marginal cost is 0. Compare that to a service business where each customer requires your effort. The marginal cost is 100%.
How much can digital leverage multiply your output?
Depends on what you're building, but it can be 10x, 100x, even 1000x.
Give me the full range of examples.
A consultant might leverage their time through a course. They teach 1,000 people instead of 10. That's 100x leverage. A software company builds a product used by 1 million customers. Each customer interaction is handled by code, not humans. That's 10,000x leverage compared to a service business. A creator builds content that reaches 10 million people. That's potentially 1,000x leverage compared to direct interaction.
Is there a limit to leverage?
Not really. The only limit is the number of people in your market. If you're trying to reach all humans, 8 billion people, your potential leverage is 8 billion. Realistically, you'll reach a fraction of that, but the potential is massive.
What's the downside of high leverage?
The bigger the leverage, the more important quality becomes. If you're a consultant working with 10 people, your mistakes affect 10 people. You can fix them directly. If you're a software company with 1 million users, a bug affects 1 million people. Fixing it is complex and costly. So high leverage requires high quality and high reliability.
Does that mean you have to work more?
Not necessarily. It means you have to be more careful in what you build and how you build it. You might write code more slowly because you need it to be right, but you're still getting leverage. A bug in code used by 1 million people is catastrophic. So, you test more thoroughly. That's the trade-off of high leverage. More quality required, but exponentially more impact.
How does digital leverage change business models?
Completely. Let me walk through 3 models.
Go ahead.
Model 1, services. You trade time for money. A consultant makes $200 an hour. They work 2,000 hours a year. They make $400,000 a year. To make $1 million, they need to raise rates or work more. There's a natural ceiling. Model 2, products with digital leverage. You build software. You sell it to 1,000 customers at $1,000 per month. Revenue, $1 million per month. Your effort, maybe 40 hours per week. You've uncapped the revenue ceiling. The software does the work. Model 3, hybrid. You combine services and software. You do some custom work for high-touch customers. You sell software to customers who want self-service. This gives you multiple leverage points.
Which is best?
Depends on your goals. But products with digital leverage scale faster and get more valuable. A services business is worth maybe 2x annual revenue when you sell it. A software business is worth 1020x annual revenue because of the leverage. The market pays more for leverage.
Why?
Because leverage means growth doesn't require proportional increases in cost. A services business needs to hire more consultants to grow. Cost grows with revenue. A software business can grow 10x without increasing costs. Growth is more profitable. Investors pay for profitable growth, so they value leverage.
Can a services business add leverage?
Yes, through products, courses, content, automation, delegation. A consultant can create a course and reach 10,000 people. That's leverage. An agency can build software that helps clients without consultant involvement. That's leverage.
You mentioned multiple types. Let me understand them.
There are 3 main types of digital leverage. First, technology leverage. Building software that does what humans do, but faster and cheaper. Second, distribution leverage. Using digital channels to reach people at scale without proportional cost. Third, network leverage. Building systems where each new user makes the system more valuable.
Give me examples of each.
Technology leverage. A transcription tool transcribes 1,000 hours of audio per day without humans. Distribution leverage. A creator posts 1 video on YouTube that reaches 10 million people. Network leverage. A social network becomes more valuable as more people join. Every new user adds value for existing users.
Which is most powerful?
Network leverage is most powerful, but hardest to build. You need critical mass before the network effect kicks in. Technology leverage is most common. Most software is technology leverage. Distribution leverage is easiest to access. You just need to understand platforms.
Can you combine them?
Yes. The most valuable companies combine all 3. Uber has technology leverage, matching algorithm, distribution leverage, app on your phone, and network leverage, more drivers, means better service.
How do you build all 3?
You start with 1, usually technology or distribution. You get traction. Then you add the second. You reach critical mass and add the third. By the time you have all 3, you're very hard to compete against.
Walk me through how you built leverage in your companies.
My first company was pure services. I did consulting, no leverage. Revenue, $500K per year. I was the bottleneck. I worked too much.
What changed?
I realized the bottleneck was me. So, I built software that automated parts of what I did. Instead of doing the work, I sold software that helped clients do the work. Suddenly, I had leverage. My effort stayed the same. Revenue went from $500K to $5 million in 2 years. That's 10x leverage in 2 years.
How did you build the software?
I hired engineers. I paid them to build what I knew how to do manually. I knew the problem deeply because I'd done it manually, so I could guide them on what to build.
What happened to the consulting business?
It shrank. Clients preferred self-service software to paying for consulting, but the software revenue more than made up for it.
Did you add distribution leverage?
After the software worked, I started thinking about distribution. I was reaching customers through sales calls and word of mouth. I switched to content marketing. I published frameworks. I wrote about the problems we solved. That attracted customers who didn't know we existed.
How much did that amplify revenue?
Dramatically, sales costs dropped 50%. Revenue doubled because content was reaching people I couldn't reach otherwise.
Did you build network leverage?
Not in that company. In the second company, I did. I built a marketplace connecting buyers and sellers. Network leverage was built in. As more sellers joined, more buyers came. As more buyers came, more sellers joined. The value increased exponentially with each new user.
Was that easier or harder than technology leverage?
Much harder. It took 18 months to reach critical mass. Until you reach critical mass, the network is worthless. So you're burning money with no revenue. But once you hit critical mass, growth becomes automatic.
How do you know when you hit critical mass?
When new users come without marketing. When existing users bring new users, word of mouth becomes the growth engine. Marketing becomes optional. That's when the network leverage kicks in.
Are there downsides to pursuing leverage?
Yes. The biggest downside is that leverage takes time to build. A services business generates revenue immediately. Month 1, you have clients and revenue. A software business takes 12 to 24 months before you have meaningful revenue. Many founders quit before reaching leverage.
How do you avoid that trap?
You need to understand the timeline going in. If you're building software, you need runway for 2 years before you have traction. If you're building a network, you need runway for 18 months to 2 years before critical mass. Without that understanding, you'll give up too early.
Can you combine models? Start with services to fund software?
Yes, that's actually a great approach. Do consulting or services to generate revenue and learn the customer problem deeply. Use that revenue to fund building software. As software grows, reduce services. Eventually, services is optional.
Is that what you did?
In my first company, yes. I funded software development with consulting revenue. In my second company, I raised venture capital to fund marketplace development. Both approaches work. Bootstrapping is slower but retains ownership. Venture capital is faster but dilutes ownership.
What's the leverage of venture capital?
Venture capital is a form of leverage. You use other people's money to fund growth. You multiply your runway and your team size without using your own capital. The downside is dilution and pressure to grow fast. But the upside is you can reach leverage faster.
Can individuals use digital leverage, or is it just for companies?
Individuals can absolutely use digital leverage, maybe even more powerfully than companies. An individual with a personal brand and leverage can outcompete companies.
Give me an example.
A technical writer who publishes a newsletter reaches 100,000 readers. Each week, they write one piece. That one piece educates 100,000 people. Without leverage, they could only reach people through direct consulting, maybe 10 to 20 per week. With leverage, they reach 100,000 per week. That's 10,000x amplification.
How do they monetize that?
Multiple ways. Sponsorships in the newsletter, courses based on the content, consulting for people in the audience, speaking fees. The leverage creates multiple revenue streams.
Is that sustainable?
If they keep creating valuable content, yes. The audience grows and the leverage increases. The writer I described could eventually reach 1 million readers. That's 100,000x leverage.
Do they have to write more?
Not necessarily. They write one piece a week. The leverage comes from distribution. One piece reaches millions instead of dozens.
Can you teach someone to build digital leverage?
Yes, but it requires understanding 3 things. First, what can you do better than most people? What's your unique skill? Second, how can you amplify that skill through digital systems? Third, how can you distribute that amplified skill at scale?
Walk me through those for someone building a personal brand.
Unique skill. Deep knowledge of your field. You know something that 1% of people know. Amplification. You write, speak, or create content about it. You turn your knowledge into teachable frameworks. Distribution. You put that content on YouTube, blogs, podcasts. You reach people who care about your knowledge.
That's digital leverage applied to personal brands.
Exactly. And the people doing this best are building very successful careers. They're reaching millions. They're earning 7 figures. They have autonomy and impact.
Does digital leverage create sustainable competitive advantage?
Not indefinitely. But it does create a window of advantage. The first to build leverage in a market has a 5 to 10-year advantage.
Why only 5 to 10 years?
Because others eventually catch up. They see you winning and they build similar leverage. But by the time they catch up, you're already 5 to 10 years ahead. You have more users, more data, more resources.
How do you maintain advantage after they catch up?
You keep innovating. You don't just maintain leverage, you keep building more leverage. Netflix started with technology leverage over Blockbuster, but Blockbuster could have built similar technology. Netflix maintained advantage by building content leverage. They started creating their own content. That added a second layer of leverage that Blockbuster couldn't match.
So it's not about one leverage point. It's about stacking leverage points.
Exactly. The companies that win long-term have multiple leverage points. They have technology leverage. They have distribution leverage. They have network leverage. They have content leverage. Removing anyone doesn't hurt them because they have others.
How do you stack leverage points?
You build one. You reach dominance with it. Then you add the next. Amazon started with e-commerce technology leverage. Then they added logistics leverage. Then AWS technology leverage. Each layer made them harder to compete against.
How does digital leverage affect how you structure your team?
Dramatically. A highly leveraged business needs a different team structure than a services business.
How?
A services business is mostly delivery people. You need consultants, account managers, implementers. You hire proportionally to revenue. 10x revenue means 10x people. A software business with leverage is mostly builders and product people. You need engineers, designers, product managers. You hire much slower than revenue grows. 10x revenue might mean 2x people.
What about sales and marketing?
Services business, large sales team, direct sales to acquire customers. Software business, mostly product-led growth. The software sells itself. You might have some sales for enterprise customers, but SMB customers come through the product.
What about customer success?
Services business, lots of customer success people. You're delivering custom work. Software business, less customer success. The product handles most support. You might have success for enterprise customers, but SMB customers are self-service.
So a leveraged business is much leaner?
Much leaner. Same revenue with way fewer people. A $10 million revenue services business might have 50 people. A $10 million revenue software business might have 10 people. The leverage multiplier.
Does that mean better margins?
Dramatically better. Services business, maybe 30% margin. Software business, maybe 80% margin. The leverage shows up as margin.
For someone starting from zero, how do they start building leverage?
Start with what you can do that others can't. For most people, that's expertise in a field. You know something that 1% of the world knows.
What's the first step?
Create something that demonstrates your knowledge. For some people, that's a course. For others, it's a book or blog. For others, it's a product. The medium doesn't matter. What matters is you're creating something that proves you know what you're talking about.
How long does that take?
3 to 6 months. You want to build something real that demonstrates your knowledge.
What's the second step?
Distribute it at scale. Get it in front of 10,000 people. That's now possible with the internet. You don't need permission. You don't need a publisher. You just need to understand how to use platforms.
How do you do that?
Start with where your audience is. If you're targeting engineers, they're on GitHub and Hacker News. If you're targeting business people, they're on LinkedIn and Twitter. You publish on those platforms. You engage with the audience. You build a following.
How long does that take?
6 to 12 months to build meaningful following. Maybe 10,000 people who trust you.
What's the third step?
Monetize. Once you have audience and trust, you can monetize. Courses, coaching, products, sponsorships, speaking fees, you convert your leverage into revenue.
How much revenue can you make?
Depends on the audience and the offer. But a 10,000-person audience making quality content can generate $1 million per year.
From 0 to 10 million in 2 years?
If you're focused on leverage and audience building, yes. Most people build much slower because they're doing other things. But if you focus on leverage from day one, it's very fast.
How do AI and LLMs change digital leverage?
Fundamentally, AI is leverage on steroids.
Give me an example.
Before AI, you needed 10 engineers to build a complex software product. With AI, you might need 2 engineers. AI handles the work that 8 engineers did. That's a 5x leverage multiplier from AI alone.
How does that affect business models?
It makes leverage even more accessible. A solo founder can now build something that previously required a team. A small team can now compete with large teams. The leverage multiplier gets bigger.
Does that mean everyone can succeed with AI?
No, AI is still a tool. You need to know how to use it. The people who understand how to leverage AI will win. The people who ignore AI will be left behind.
What about competition?
Everyone has access to AI, so AI itself isn't a competitive advantage, but using AI better than everyone else's. The first person in a market to use AI effectively will have a 2 to 3 year advantage. By the time others catch up, they're way ahead.
So it's about speed to leverage?
Exactly. Speed to understanding leverage, speed to building leverage, speed to distributing leverage. In a world with AI, the speed multiplier is even larger.
Does building digital leverage require giving up purpose or impact?
No. The best leverage is built on genuine impact. If you build leverage around something that doesn't matter, the leverage doesn't last. But if you build leverage around something that genuinely helps people, it's sustainable.
Give me an example.
My second company, a marketplace for service providers. We genuinely solved a problem. Service providers could reach more customers. Customers could find better service providers. Both sides won. The leverage was built on genuine value creation. That made it sustainable.
What if you built leverage around something that didn't create value?
You'd grow fast initially, but eventually, the market would figure it out. The leverage would collapse. Look at fake news or scams. They sometimes have incredible growth through digital leverage, but it's not sustainable because the underlying value isn't real.
So purpose and leverage go together?
The best ones do. You build leverage because you're solving a real problem for real people. The leverage is the vehicle for scaling the impact.
Rapid fire?
Ready.
What's the most underutilized form of leverage?
Distribution. Most founders ignore it and focus on product.
Most overrated form of leverage?
Network leverage. Everyone wants it, but it's the hardest to build.
How long does leverage take?
Technology leverage, 1 to 2 years. Distribution leverage, 6 to 12 months. Network leverage, 2 to 3 years.
Can you have too much leverage?
Yes. If you optimize for leverage and forget about value, you fail.
What's leverage worth in terms of valuation?
A leveraged business is worth 5 a negative 10x more than a non-leveraged business.
Is leverage the only thing that matters?
No. You still need good product, good team, good timing. But leverage amplifies all of those.
Should everyone build for leverage?
If you want to scale, yes. If you want a lifestyle business, no.
What are the biggest mistakes you've seen in building leverage?
First, optimizing for leverage before you have product market fit. Some founders focus on building scalable systems before they've proven customers want their product. Build product first. Optimize later.
What's the second mistake?
Confusing efficiency with leverage. Some founders are efficient, but not leveraged. Efficiency means doing things well. Leverage means amplifying impact. You need both. But leverage is more valuable.
What's the third mistake?
Trying to build all leverage points at once. Focus on one, master it, then add the next. Most founders try to do technology, distribution, and network leverage simultaneously. They fail at all three.
What's the fourth mistake?
Building leverage on something nobody wants. You can have perfect leverage, but if it's leveraging something nobody cares about, it's worthless. Validate that people want what you're building before you leverage it.
What's the fifth mistake?
Forgetting about the human element. Digital leverage is powerful, but it still needs human touch. The best companies blend digital leverage with human relationships. You scale with leverage, but you maintain relationships with key customers.
Does building digital leverage affect your personal life?
Depends on how you do it. If you build leverage correctly, you can actually have more life. Once leverage is in place, the business runs with less of your involvement.
How much less?
Dramatically less. A highly leveraged business might need 20 hours per week from the founder. A services business needs 60+ hours per week. So leverage actually gives you more freedom.
But building leverage requires intense effort initially?
Yes. The first 1 to 2 years are intense. You're building the leverage while potentially maintaining cash flow. It's hard, but once the leverage is in place, it's liberating.
Is it worth it?
Absolutely. I spent 2 years building leverage in my first company. Then I had 5 years of relatively easy scaling. Then I spent another 2 years building leverage in my second company. The pattern repeats. But each time, the leverage gets bigger and the business gets more valuable.
Freya, close us out. What should every founder understand about digital leverage?
I think the most important thing is to understand that digital leverage is not optional anymore. It's not a nice to have. It's essential. In a world where software can scale infinitely, businesses without leverage are dinosaurs.
How should people think about it?
Think about your business as a multiplier machine. How can you build systems that multiply impact without multiplying cost? That's leverage.
Should every business pursue leverage?
If you want to scale and grow, yes. If you want a local lifestyle business, then no. You can be successful without leverage. But if you want to build something big, leverage is essential.
What's the biggest misconception about leverage?
That it's about working less. It's not. It's about multiplying impact. You might work just as much, but your impact is 100x bigger. That's leverage.
What should people do starting today?
Identify one form of leverage you can build. Technology, distribution, network. Pick one. Focus on it. Build it. In 12 to 24 months, you'll have leverage. In 3 to 5 years, you'll have a very different business.
Freya, thank you for showing us digital leverage.
Thank you for asking. I think digital leverage is the defining difference between founders who scale and founders who plateau. The ones who understand it will build the next generation of billion-dollar companies. The ones who ignore it will wonder why they're struggling.
Everyone listening, digital leverage is not magic. It's intentional. It's systematic. It's learnable. Start understanding it today. Start building it today. Your future business depends on it. That's episode 36 of Scale Up Stories. I'm Sakil. Digital leverage is the new superpower.